Of all people alive today, more than 1 in 6 live in India. That's nearly 1.5 billion people, a staggering share of humanity. And India's population is still growing rapidly. Alongside that, their economy is booming. At 6 to 7% growth per year, India is the fastest growing major economy in the world, outpacing China and the United States. By every metric, India is rising in importance, much like China did in the 1990s, when many predicted it would be China's century. But while China may be nearing its demographic and economic peak, India is still climbing. Projections suggest that by 2085, India's population could be more than 3 times that of China. In short, India is positioned to be a central player in global geopolitics for decades to come. That's why India's recent move, entering into a security partnership with Ukraine, has drawn so much attention. This partnership focuses on the future of warfare: drones, anti-drone systems, electronic warfare, and interceptor technologies. Ukraine will help India modernize its military, preparing it to face threats from Pakistan and China. For many observers, this was shocking. India has long been seen as a close ally of Russia, relying heavily on Russian energy and weapons. Yet now, India is turning to Ukraine for next-generation military technology. On the surface, it looks like a betrayal of Russia, or at least a humiliating setback for Moscow. To understand why this matters, let's look at India's defense posture. Historically, India has purchased nearly half of Russia's weapons exports. Their military is deeply structured around Russian systems. Even today, India continues to buy billions of dollars worth of Russian equipment, especially air defense systems. But those are legacy purchases, systems India already depends on and cannot replace overnight. For the technologies of tomorrow, India is betting on Ukraine. That choice is not just about hardware, it's a vote of confidence in Ukraine's innovation and a vote of no confidence in Russia's ability to keep pace. Why would India make such a dramatic shift? The answer lies in India's worldview. India's primary concern is survival. With such a vast population, even small disruptions in food or energy can have catastrophic consequences. Around 12% of Indians, nearly 200 million people, are malnourished. India exists on a knife's edge, where geopolitical shocks could mean famine or mass instability. At the same time, India faces existential threats from its neighbors. Pakistan, a nuclear power, has a long and tense history with India. China, another nuclear power, disputes territory along the Himalayan border and is building dams that could trigger future water conflicts. India cannot afford ideology. Every decision is weighed in terms of risk, survival, and long-term security. This perspective explains India's controversial purchases of Russian energy. When Russia invaded Ukraine, many expected India to cut ties. Instead, India became one of the largest buyers of Russian oil and gas. Critics saw this as support for Moscow. But for India, it was a practical necessity. Energy is the backbone of agriculture and industry. Natural gas is essential for fertilizer production. Cutting off Russian supplies could have triggered famine in India and destabilized their economy. The West recognized this risk and allowed India to keep buying under a price cap system. The logic was clear. Preventing famine in India outweighed the downside of Russia's continued revenue. For India, it was never about ideology. It was about keeping 1.5 billion people alive. But now, India sees Russia faltering and Ukraine innovating. Ukrainian drone warfare has proven superior. On the battlefield, Ukraine has pioneered piloted ground robotics, reclaiming territory without risking soldiers. They've developed effective interceptor drones and long-range strike systems operated safely from offices hundreds of kilometers away. Russia has tried similar tactics, but at a smaller scale and slower pace. Ukraine's democratic, competitive environment fosters rapid innovation, while Russia's centralized oligarchy slows progress. India is watching this divergence closely and choosing the side with better technology and reliability. This shift has enormous implications. India is the world's largest weapons importer. If they embrace Ukrainian systems, Ukraine could replace Russia's role as a major arms supplier. That would secure Ukraine's wartime support and post-war economic recovery. For India, diversifying away from Russian weapons could weaken the BRICS alliance and tilt them closer to the West. Remember, China remains India's greatest rival. If India no longer depends on Russia, its incentive to align with China diminishes. The possibility of India rethinking its strategic alignment is now on the table. Let's pause and consider the scale of this. India represents 1/6 of humanity. Their choices ripple across the globe. If India shifts toward Ukraine, and by extension the West, it could reshape the balance of power in Asia and beyond. Russia would lose its largest weapons customer. China would face a stronger, better-equipped rival. Ukraine would gain a sustainable role as a global arms supplier, ensuring its recovery after the war. And the West would gain a powerful partner in countering authoritarian regimes. Of course, India's path is not straightforward. They still rely on Russian systems today. Transitioning to Ukrainian or Western technology will take time, retraining soldiers, retooling supply chains, and restructuring doctrine. But the direction is clear. India sees its future with Ukraine. And that choice reflects not just military pragmatism, but a broader geopolitical calculation. Russia is unlikely to succeed, Ukraine is proving resilient, and India must align with winners to secure its survival. This decision also highlights Ukraine's transformation. Far from being a passive recipient of aid, Ukraine is carving out a sustainable future through innovation and arms sales. Their drone technology is not just battlefield tested, it's becoming a global export. Middle Eastern countries are already turning to Ukraine for solutions in their own conflicts. India's involvement elevates Ukrainian systems from niche products to mainstream global standards. In effect, Ukraine is stepping into the role Russia once played as a major supplier of military technology, but with democratic innovation driving faster progress. For India, this partnership is about more than drones. It's about positioning themselves for the future. They know their greatest threats lie on their borders. They know survival depends on energy, food, and security. And they know that aligning with outdated Russian systems could leave them vulnerable. By choosing Ukraine, India is signaling where they see the future of warfare and geopolitics heading. In conclusion, India's partnership with Ukraine is a world-changing development. It reflects India's pragmatic survival strategy, Ukraine's technological edge, and Russia's decline. It could reshape alliances, weaken BRICS, and tilt India closer to the West. Most importantly, it shows that India, representing 1/6 of humanity, is betting on Ukraine's resilience and innovation. That choice will echo across the globe for decades to come.